friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside. Today we are going to have some fun finishing up, cleaning up all around the cottage garden and my garden boxes. We are going to put these garden boxes to rest for the winter, so I want to show you how you can easily do that using some great organic materials that one, you probably have in your yard, and two, that you can go to your local garden center and get some of these fantastic things. I will tell you before we get too far into this that the power company has been trimming the trees along the electrical lines, and today is the day that they're grinding up all of the limbs. So I am going to try to start this video really quickly. That way, when I'm actually cleaning up, hopefully all the grinding and all the noise will be done and we can then move on, because if you hear something in the background, that is what it is. Big wood chippers chipping up the trees. So it is what it is, and we're gonna do the best we can today. But you will see behind me, we do have our 5 garden boxes here. We've been here many times before. Like you can see, they are raised beds about 10 inches high. We use organic soil in there. We always use organic methods when we do our vegetables and our herbs. So what we're going to do today is get all of the weeds out. We are going to say goodbye to the peppers and the tomatoes because clearly they are done. So we're going to disassemble all of that. We're going to pull out any kind of herbs like this basil that has already gotten zapped by the freeze, trim up some plants that need to be trimmed up. We're going to lay down some beautiful organic compost on top of these beds to put them to sleep for the winter. And then the final thing for the garden boxes is we are going to top dress with this great leaf litter that my mom and Jackson made for us about a week or two ago. So we're going to talk about all of that. Also in today's agenda is to get the unique stone urns planted with some really fun, sunshiny, happy violas. Get those planted. I've got weeds coming up in different places. So it's just a little bit of garden tidy cleanup. I'm going to share with you my tips on how to successfully prep whether it's your vegetable gardens or your flower beds, what you can be doing in the fall that will set you off for great success come spring. So you're just going to come along with me. Of course, we are in North Carolina, a Zone 7B. So if you're new to us, as this is your first time watching, give you an idea, beginning of November, we have a huge long growing season here in North Carolina. And so by doing these steps, it will help us have a really successful spring because our season starts so early in the spring. We're still planting, perennials and shrubs and trees. So we're doing lots of great things here in North Carolina, but this is something that everybody can use. It just may be different as far as calendar wise for you, depending on where you are. So with the wood chipper going in the background, all I'm gonna do is come through, I'm gonna get all the weeds out. I'm going to tidy up everything and get rid of the tomato cages, the jalapeno cages, all of those kinds of things, and take you along for the ride. Before we get too far into that, I've had several of you ask about this particular garden box right here. This is the garden box that we had the really highly invasive weed daughter. We found out that we had it this spring. As soon as we figured out what that weed was, we took out the carrots and the beets. We removed all of the foliage. We threw it away into the trash can. If you don't know what daughter is, check out the video above because I will link that, and so you can really find out what daughter is. It is a highly invasive weed that can take over gardens. It's a parasitic weed, and it is in this garden box. The seeds are. So what I'm going to do here is, because I do have weeds growing in here, I've got like a grocery bag. I'm going to put those weeds in that grocery bag and then put it in the trash can. I do not want to compost this because there are seeds, the daughter seeds in this soil. So if I take it out of here and put it in my compost bin or out in nature, then those seeds could germinate and spread, which is what I do not want. We will take care of this bed come this winter. We just keep pushing it off and pushing it off because it is going to be a labor-intensive project. We're going to have to completely remove all the soil, rebuild the box, start completely from scratch to make sure that that daughter seed is not present in our garden any longer. we will do that this winter. I will bring you along for the ride, but today we're just gonna get it weeded. I'm not gonna put down compost, and I don't think I'm gonna waste my leaf litter on here. I may put some more pre-emergent down. I use the pre-emergent just as a preventative to keep anything from coming up. But we'll get to that in a little bit. Just know that the daughter bed is still here. We're leaving it alone, and it is just hanging out until this winter when we can take care of it. So without further ado, I'm gonna get to pulling some weeds and cleaning up this garden. I've had a couple of people ask me about, do we compost? What do we do with our debris? We unofficially compost our material in the sense of I do not do it exactly how it's supposed to be, and we don't reuse the material. However, I don't put our green debris in the trash can unless it's the weeds from the daughter. That goes straight in the trash can. So we just kind of have different little spots around the property where we will dump our debris. Jerry will come through with the tractor or the bobcat, I don't know, every 6 months or so, and just kind of push it, move it around, and we just dump it. So this is one of the spots. You can see that it's covered a lot in leaves right now, but there is coleus down there, all sorts of different things. The great thing about the John Deere, old Johnny, is that it does have a bed that lifts. It's not hydraulic. One day we may add that, but I can just lift it up like that. It dumps, and then I will pull away and everything will slide out. So yeah, that is what we do with all of our green debris. I've also had a lot of you ask about the dahlia patch. Dahlia patch has gotten zapped by the 2 nights of freezing temperatures. We are going to go ahead and dig them up this year because we're going to completely rework this whole area. So that is the reason that I am going to dig them up. I will store them. I may or may not have already ordered one or two more dahlia tubers for next spring. So I'll take you along for this journey of how I'm gonna take care of them, but they have gotten fried clearly by 2 nights of freezing temperatures. So they're just gonna kind of hang out right now until I have a moment to take care of them and store them properly. So that's the update on the dahlia patch for you. Okay, my friends, so I filled the back of Johnny up with some Land and Sea compost. That is my trick that I have found that just really helps my garden boxes, not only now, but through the entire year. Because we do grow our vegetables and our herbs organically, I really like using this Land and Sea compost. Now, there are other great compost out there. So if you can't get Land and Sea, visit your local garden center, talk to your fellow gardening friends. What kind of compost do you like? What is really good? What has worked for you? One thing that I did not even expect when I was using the Land and Sea is because we do grow tomatoes. And blossom end rot can be a problem for us because we get a lot of rain, like it's like all or nothing, right? And so blossom end rot is a very common problem that a lot of gardeners have with their tomatoes. I didn't even realize it, but it was this summer after I first applied my Land and Sea, I got no blossom end rot, and I have not had blossom end rot since I used the Land and Sea. What we've figured out is because it is a great source of calcium, and calcium is a great natural way to prevent blossom end rot. So if you have a problem with blossom end rot, you may want to consider using a compost that is a really good source of calcium. So what we're going to do is I'm going to come in, because each of my garden boxes does have the drip irrigation. So I am going to just pull it back. It's just a tube. I'm going to pull it back and just lay it back there on the back. And then I pulled 4 bags of Land and Sea for each box. We'll see, because of course, as you're pulling plants out, you're pulling out soil. So we'll put the 4 bags of Land and Sea, kind of spread it out evenly, put the irrigation back, and then I will top it off with my leaf litter. Now you'll notice over here on this garden box that there's still a lot of green in there, and I was thinking, I was like, oh my gosh, all these weeds. They're not weeds, they're baby tomatoes. Because one of my favorite tomatoes is this Sun Gold cherry tomato. It is an heirloom. It is the sweetest, most wonderful, delicious tomato. But of course, you know, when you can't pick every tomato, and when they drop and then they end up putting the seeds. So I've got hundreds of little baby tomato seedlings in here. I'm not worried about it because, of course, when we have a hard freeze, it'll kill them off. So that's no problem. Now, will I probably have little seedlings come up next year? Probably so. I'll just deal with them then. The herb box, I had to cut the oregano like crazy. I don't use oregano a lot. I just kind of like to grow the herbs in case I ever need them. Then I use them. Of course, I use my chives, and sage is really good with, you know, poultry and butternut squash. I love it. The oregano is kind of taking over the box, so I cleaned it up. Same thing with the rosemary. It was getting a little over the edges, cleaned it up. And then this is actually a clematis. This is Pink Mink from Proven Winners, doing great. Of course, there's no flowers on it right now. It's just foliage, but it gives me some height here, and so we'll just leave that alone. With the daughter box, leave that alone completely too. You will notice that I put all those weeds in a plastic bag, goes straight into the trash can. My garden gloves, I turned them inside out. I will wash them in hot soapy water in the house. And then this box we will take care of as well. So we have 4 boxes to take care of. And I will just top dress a little bit in the herb box with the Land and Sea, because of course I've got those herbs in there. So I'm going to try to lift up the irrigation, because it has been a problem that over the years is getting buried. So I'm going to try to lift it up a little bit, put the Land and Sea, and then do the leaf litter. It's pretty simple. So we're going to get started on that. And then once all this is done, then we're going to get the urns planted. I don't know if you saw that I have my violas in the back of Johnny, and they are so happy. Cannot wait to get them in the ground. Got to do a little weeding because I've got some big old huge weeds right here. It's going to drive me crazy. So the work continues. Okay, my friends, so we got the garden boxes done. I did a little bit of weeding. We'll go over all of that in just a little bit, but I want to go ahead and show you how I'm going to plant up these unique stone urns. I have got some very, very happy Color Max clear yellow violas. They are just the most sunshiniest, happy little flowers you ever did see. Last year we did these in the urns during the winter, and man, even though they were highly neglected, they were so happy and so cheery all winter long. And you look out and you come down the driveway, you look out the kitchen windows, and you saw these little 4 pops of sunshine coming out of these urns. So we're going to do the same thing again this year, but this year I do have irrigation. Woo, there's still water in there. I have irrigation in the urns, so that is going to be super helpful. What we're going to do is use the Proven Winners potting soil, and we're going to fill up the urns pretty much like 3/4 of the way. Then I'm going to plant the violas in there and then add the irrigation. So let me just walk you through that whole process. With my tool belt, I have my little box cutter, and I do love that because it always comes in so handy. You never know when you need to like tear something open or something like that. Right, Brenna? Yes. So Brenna is sporting her flower bandana today because, you know, a girl has to accessorize. So she has on her little flowery, bandana. So we're going to fill it up. I really like the Proven Winners potting soil because it holds water really well for us, but yet at the same time it's got enough aged pine bark fines in here that it doesn't hold too much water, so it drains really well. I have tried other potting soils and I have yet to find one that I like better than the Proven Winners. If you've watched me in the past do containers, pots, you know that I will put in the bottom third, I will fill it with compost. These are the violas. Their roots are not going to go all the way down, I don't think. Maybe I'm wrong. It'll be a little experiment, but I'm not going to do it on this one. I may regret it. If I do, well, live and learn. So these little irrigation rings, I use them on the back patio in my urns. I use them in my hanging baskets. Jerry found them. We actually saw Laura use these a couple of years ago, and I was like, that is what I need. I will try to figure out where Jerry got them from and if it's available for retail customers, but it's by Netafim. I'll put the name up there and we'll see if we can find you a link because they are great. So it has where you put your irrigation tubing and you just slide it on there, right? And then there are emitters around, so it's a ring and you just put it down in there, so you just don't have one point of water going in, you have water that goes all the way around. And on this, it actually fits in quite nicely and fills it in, and then I'm going to plant. I've learned that it's easier to put the irrigation ring in first and then plant your plants around it. It just makes it a wee bit easier. We're going to see how many I get in here because, do you want that? No. Yes? No. She says no. Well, changed her mind. She was being polite. So while I'm not going to put, that's a little low. You ever do that? You start going on something and then you're like, no, I need a little bit more too because the potting soil will sink. So we're going to add more. There we go. Now we're cooking with peanut oil. There we go. Get that back in there. Yeah, now we got it. So I'm going to plant the violas all the way up against that ring. So I am going to, when I'm done with this, I will top dress it in the Land and Sea compost. It cleans it up, it'll hide the irrigation ring, and gives them nutrients as it breaks down. The Proven Winners potting soil does have time release fertilizer in there, so that is great. It is released by temperature though. Now, Today and tomorrow, I think we're gonna get close to maybe even like 80. It's in the upper 70s. So it will release then. Now, when we're in January, February, obviously those are our coldest months and it will not release then. So if my violas need a little shot of fertilizer, I can come back with a liquid fertilizer like the Proven Winners water soluble, and that would be great for them. I think 4 is gonna do very nicely, because there's actually, these are the violas that we grew, and we put 2 little plants per cell pack. So we actually have 8 plants in here, and that will fill in really nicely. So we're gonna get our land and sea, and then just top dress it and clean it up. All right, now doesn't that look all happy and sweet? I will go ahead and water these. I'll get the watering can and give these a water, because we do have the irrigation turned off for now. Going into the fall, like late fall into winter, we don't run the irrigation. We just don't need to. But what's going to come in really handy is when we hit springtime and the temperatures start to rise up, we start to get less water, natural rainfall rather, then I can have the irrigation system on and it will get them nice and well watered. Until I'm ready to put my summer annuals in here, that will hold them and do great. So I've got 1 down and I've got 3 more to go. All right, my friends, after 3 hours of good hard work, the garden boxes are all clean. My violas are planted and watered. Everybody is ready for a long winter's nap, including this girl, because oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how excited I am to have these boxes done. So let me show you just the transformation. And I know the transformation, you know, you're like, well, Jenny, you know, there's nothing in there. Exactly, that's the point. Look how neat and tidy and just clean everybody looks. They are ready to go through all winter long. The violas, of course, are up there, just so sweet and happy. 4 of the Color Max Clear yellows in each of those urns. Could not be more excited to have this project complete, because it is definitely one of those that has driven me crazy for weeks, if not a couple of months now. Not a couple months, weeks, I would say. Just to recap, cleaning out all the weeds, you really want to get your beds, your flower beds, whether it's garden boxes, flower beds, whatever. Keep control over your weeds. There are summer weeds and there are winter weeds, and you want to stay on top of that just routinely. If you do it a little bit at a time, then it's not so overwhelming. There have certainly been many times when life has gotten so insane and I come out here and my garden boxes are slap full of massive weeds. I get them cleaned up, but unfortunately, you know, they drop seeds, so even the next year, then I'm having to battle them. If you can just come out once a week, especially during the growing season, and just pull those little tiny baby weeds, it will make such a huge difference in your plants and how everything looks and how you feel as a gardener. So just maintaining those weeds is a huge deal. Adding that compost is going to add to my soil environment for, you know, just months and years on end. I'm going to have very happy plants. The leaf litter on top, I'm going to have some very happy earthworms. It holds the moisture in, it decomposes, it adds great nutrients to the soil. It is a fantastic way to control your your weeds. So in the wintertime, I'm not gonna have to come out here. It will be rare if I have to come out here and pull a weed, because that nice thick leaf litter does a wonderful job. Somebody had asked how we do that. It's my mama and Jackson, they do it, and literally they blow all the leaves into a huge pile, and then they just run back and forth over it with the mower. I mean, they chop it up multiple times so that it is just absolutely, you know, fine powder basically. The more you can, the finer you can get, the quicker it is going to break down. Now, are there some little sticks in there? Of course. Were there parts of some grass? Yes, of course, but the grass had not gone to seed, so there should not be any like grass seed in here or weed seed. So they just mow over it a gazillion times, and then that final time, then they bag it. So Mama's old mower has a bagger attachment. They bag it, and then they put it into those 15-gallon nursery pots, bring it to me, and then I spread it out. It works wonderful. This will be the 3rd year that we've done it. Love it. If you can go like 2 inches thick, that would be fantastic. The tomato cages, I know somebody's probably gonna ask, I got those, all of my garden vegetable supports came from Gardener's Supply, ordered them online. The tomato cages were the Titan series, and there's like short ones and the tall ones, depends on which tomato types you're gonna do. Love, love, love them. They did not tip over. They were nice and strong and sturdy. My tomatoes did really, really well in them. So the Titan series from Gardener Supply, highly recommend those. I will break them down and then just put them up for the winter. And yeah, but other than that, man, super stinking excited about this. Up here on the hill, Hydrangea Hill, everybody's doing well. Megan asked me if I was going to prune my hydrangeas for the winter. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Right now, we're gonna leave them alone. We have the little lime down here in the front, and then back up there at the top are firelights. But I feel fantastic getting this accomplished. Brenna has been a great little gardener, partner with me here today, but it is lunch, it's past lunchtime, so I'm gonna go eat some lunch. Y'all have a great day, and we will see y'all in the next video. Bye, friends.